I'm Dr. John Parianos. I'm Knowledge Management Director at the Cook Islands Seabed Minerals Authority. My team and I, our job is to look at all the information that's available, to collate it and synthesize it as best we can so that our stakeholders, the people of the Cook Islands, government and further afield, can make the best decision about the development in the future or not of our seabed minerals.
I'm Mahlet Mesfin, Nonresident Fellow at the Stimson Center. Since they've been discovered, seabed minerals have been in active debates around who owns them, how they're harvested, what the impacts are of such activities. Some of these minerals are found in international waters or areas beyond national jurisdiction, and the International Seabed Authority, or the ISA, was established to organize and control mineral resource activities in those areas. The Cook Islands know that they have an abundance of marine minerals in their jurisdiction and have spent decades putting together legislation and regulatory systems that will help to manage seabed mining. How do you think about how you're aligning the domestic processes with those that are being developed internationally?
So the exclusive economic zone of the Cook Islands, all of that is a multi-use park called Marae Moana. And for the marine environment within Marae Moana, everything either has to be protected or conserved.
A central challenge in these discussions is the environmental risk and managing that. And so, as seabed mining moves from exploration to potential commercial activity, governments really have to face decisions on how they're regulating an industry that has never operated at scale in the deep ocean in these environments.
It is a little bit like taking a step into the unknown. However, it's better to try and design the rules in advance than to make them up as you follow, right? So there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of negotiation. For example, at the International Seabed Authority, sometimes it's not really clear what they're assessing things to, like, for example, what is serious harm? We don't use that term in the Cook Islands like they do at the ISA. We have our own nomenclature, and our own nomenclature has been derived from other standards. For example, a lot of what we've done, we took from, there's an organisation called NIWA, which is now part of Earth Science New Zealand. They developed a series of guidance on how to assess these things. And we took that, we'd like to think we improved it in a few critical ways, okay? And that's what things were assessed to. So then we can have a much more structured, balanced discussion about it. The big gap, one of the big gaps, I should say, is really a large-scale demonstration of what would happen if you did. But smaller scale pilot testing has happened before. It's happened probably, I think, 4 or 5 times now, dating back to the 1970s. There were 3 trials done then. There were also disturber testing done in the 1990s. And most recently, in the last few years, there's been 2 more demonstrations. In fact, a 3rd one was done last year as well. So what you do is you compile the information you do have, and then you make a structured, hopefully balanced risk assessment of the impacts from that. And very importantly is you qualify with your level of confidence.
The terminology of serious harm not being defined does seem somewhat problematic. So can you go a little bit more into detail about how you have defined it within the islands or within the context of your regulatory framework?
In our study of it and our analysis of the issues at hand, it boils down to what we call acceptability. In exchange for the ecosystem services you take from the environment, are they acceptable in exchange for those ecosystem services? And there's no simple answer to that. There's no ticker box or crystal ball or anything like that. Mm-hmm. In the end, the decision is going to be made by a particular body in the Cook Islands. I'm not going to be part of that decision, for example. And it's not even anything to do with my authority. It's to do with our National Environment Service, which is completely separate for reasons of governance. They'll have to make that decision, and all we can try and do is present a complete picture as possible of how severe the impacts are, how extensive the impacts are, how confident we are in those impacts, okay, versus projection of what the services are going to look like. And then they'll have to make a decision.
So last question is just, this is a very complicated topic and could have covered many things in this discussion. So just wanted to give you an opportunity to reflect on sort of one thing that you want sort of the audience to understand about seabed mining, the debates today.
it's very easy to hear polarized views from people in this sector, both who are for and who are against, right? And in the government, we feel we're a bit in the middle, really. My background is industry, so I do appreciate where the companies are coming from, but my shareholders, I guess you'd call them, are the people of the Cook Islands. My loyalty is to them, right? So I want to make sure they're as well informed as possible for when that judgment call comes along one day. But as a scientist, I like to see a structured approach to these sorts of things. So whether you're for or against or neutral, a lot of people really are neutral. The idea is to see a structured approach so that there's cause and effect, okay? So that impacts are put into perspective, so the benefits are put into perspective. And if that can be a key part of the dialogue going forward, rather than a complete polarization and people just making an emotive decision, I think that would be a good thing. Our Prime Minister puts it really well. He says, we will not be guided by fear. Okay? He wants to get the knowledge and make the journey and then make a decision based on that. So I agree with that.